So we have IndyCar's silly season coming up. Wanted to go over that a little bit. Not as heavy, I would say, as in past years of people moving around. Um, Kind of the ones I feel like that are more so are confirmed or kind of basically are confirmed that people were kind of popping up as a kind of what if. Meyer Shank, Marcus Armstrong signed for next year. People were wondering if that seat was going to pop up. It looks like because of the episode of Speed Street the other day, which Graham Rahal was on, pretty much confirmed that their lineup next year is not going to change. So DeFrancesco is not going anywhere. And then Dale Coyne, Rings VK, looks like he's going to be staying over there a bit. And we don't have many spots, I feel like, that are really switching up. I mean, the biggest domino at this point is going to be Will Power at Penske. What's that Penske seat going to look like for next year? So we're going to go into that a little bit and just kind of the couple of seats that we have left. There isn't many at this point, which makes things really difficult for some of the drivers that are kind of up in the air right now. So let's get into it. So just going down the team list a little bit. Chip Ganassi right now is staying the same pretty much. Penske, that seat for Will Power is kind of pretty much up in the air. Andretti is staying the same for next year. This might be Marcus Ericsson's kind of last resort in terms of at Andretti next year, so Hauger might be in that seat in a couple of years. McLaren staying the same for next year. Meyer Shank obviously staying the same. RLL is staying the same. Juncos, that one I think is going to be the team that might have a clean sweep. I don't know. Just in my opinion, kind of unlikely. I feel like to stick with Stingray Rob. Just hasn't really had the performance. And Connor Daly, I think it's just going to really be a sponsorship thing, unfortunately, and budget. So that one may be interesting if that seat opens up. I mean, Connor's performed well, I think, at points. So you can make an argument that he should have it next year. But I mean, if you have someone like Will Power that can potentially fill it, I mean, that kind of gets it dicey. And AJ Foyt, because David Lucas is heavily rumored to have that Penske seat. So if he jumps there, that Foyt seat is going to open up, so that'll be really interesting. Dale Coyne is staying the same. VK is going to be there for another year. Unfortunately, he should have a better ride, but I think it just might be a couple years until one really pops up. ECR is staying the same, which they should, and Prema is staying the same as well, which another I think is a good thing. Callum Mila has performed well as of late, and Robert Schwartzman, he's had some ups and downs, but it's his rookie season, had the pole in Indy, so I feel like he's proved himself that he deserves at least another year or two in that car. So the more obvious choices for the biggest domino in this, which is Will Power, everyone's been asking about it. Does he sign possibly just a one-year deal with Penske? Maybe. I feel like at this point, with how it's been going, and they usually get these things done really early, probably unlikely. So that one may unfortunately be shut down. I mean, there's a possibility to go with Penske in another program, which means that Will Power wouldn't be in IndyCar, which would be insane. But I mean, I get it. At the end of the day, these things happen, so it could be doing some endurance racing for Penske in the future. I don't know. But one of the ones that I think is really interesting is literally just a swap. So David Malukas, Will Power swapping, Will being in the 4, AJ Foyt. I mean, will it still have that Penske backing if Malukas isn't there? I don't know. But it would still be a good ride for Will. Focus on winning another Indy 500 potentially, just kind of pushing for the championship as much as you can and winning races towards the tail end of your career. That one would be good. The one that I really have been looking at is Juncos. I think that Dennis Hauger is going to go to Juncos next year, kind of develop there for a year possibly before taking that jump to Andretti in a couple years. And I feel like a really good lineup over there, if you could make it happen, is having Will Power and Dennis Hauger, having a really good veteran kind of training a little bit, kind of helping him out. And that would be a really interesting dynamic. But also, I love the dynamic of Will Power and Santina Ferrucci over AJ Foyt, so it's going to be interesting. Also, another one, I would love to see Linus Lundqvist back in IndyCar. Dude was really good and kind of got booted out, unfortunately, with the new charter system. So I would also like to see him in that Junco seat with Hauger. I feel like that would be a really underrated team next year if you had both of those drivers. And some of the other ones that people have rumored, but I think is highly unlikely, the McLaren seat kind of pops up a little bit with Nolan Siegel. I don't think that's going to happen. They seem to have an investment with him, at least for another year or two. I know the performance sometimes hasn't really been there, but I just feel like that's not going to be one that's going to pop up in the next couple of years. And honestly, if it does pop up in the next year or two, I expect Rinus VeeKay to take that spot. I feel like he would be really good over there. And Marcus Ericsson, probably one more year, I would say, at Andretti, and then possibly having someone else in there. Yeah, so, I mean, that's kind of what's going on with the seats right now, I would say, just in my opinion. I'd love to hear any thoughts, down below about where you think openings might be. And there's also the potential that we could see another Indy next guy in. I mean, there's Collette, there's Hughes. Some have said Miles Rowe, but I don't think he's really ready for the jump just yet. Um, and for all those guys, it'd be a hard budget thing. So I don't know how that would go. But I mean, Collette would probably be the next one up, I would say, besides Hauger, if you're going to be making a big jump for someone. But I don't know if we're really going to see another Indy next guy on the grid next year. Probably another year for those guys before seats really start to open up in the next couple of years. And yeah, I feel like that's how things are really looking. IndyCar is in a really weird spot right now where we have some really talented drivers that are possibly going to be on the way out or looking for a seat, and there just isn't that many openings. And I think that's the tough thing about IndyCar right now. And the brutal thing about racing in general is just like it's very ruthless sometimes in terms of like, hey, there isn't an opening, you're kind of screwed. Um, and I mean, yeah, it kind of shows also how talented the grid is now and how locked up things are. I feel like, at the end of the day, it ends up being decent for the sport, but it's also hard if you kind of root for some of these drivers on a personal level. Like, I'll admit myself, being a big Will Power fan myself, it's really interesting thinking of a thought of not seeing Will Power on the IndyCar grid next year. It's really weird. He's been in the sport for so long, still running at a really high level. I mean, he's been the best driver at Penske this year, so that's what makes this Penske situation just really interesting, I'd say, is you have someone that is arguably your best driver right now with the struggles that they've had over there and all the craziness, and he may be on the way out. So I don't know if one really opens up. It could be Juncos, could be Foyt. I don't know how you'd feel about that, but I would say AJ Foyt for him if you're going to say anything. But, yeah, I'd love to hear any thoughts down below just about it. And, yeah, IndyCar silly season is always an interesting time, so you never know. And with the driver contracts now and things changing on the fly, we could see a driver who had a contract just kind of be axed a little bit, unfortunately. We've seen it in the past, especially with McLaren. So, yeah, it makes things really interesting, so I'd love to hear any thoughts down below about it, and take care.